20.
Oh, excellent. That's a good start.
Yep, 21.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, hello everybody. Good evening. I wasn't meant to be acting as host this evening, but very apt. Technology has let us down from our homes for NSA, so I've just quickly stepped in. So thank you for joining us. Hopefully it will be a useful evening for you. Josh and Ed have obviously got lots of useful information to share with you this evening. Really, I'll just pass over to them. I think if you've got Q&A, just ask them as the session goes through. There's obviously the chat function as well, so if you do have any general comments, those can get popped on there. And then also just to note that the recording will be made available on the NSA website, hopefully by tomorrow. So you can always watch it back to get what information you might miss otherwise. Okay, but have a good evening and I will leave you to it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us. Me and Ed are taking control of the evening by the looks of things, so you're in relatively safe hands. And yeah, so I'll sort of do a bit of housekeeping at the start. Getting started with technology, obviously, is the topic tonight. Bit of what we're going to go through. So me and Ed are going to introduce ourselves. We're going to go into a nice sort of Q&A with Ed and just talk about him and himself and everything that's fantastic about him. And then the benefits of technology, which is why we're here. And then I'm going to go into a product demo of AgriWebb, which is the company that I work for. And then at the end, if you could all save your questions up, and we'll do a bit of a Q&A at the end about sort of anything that you've seen this evening. And we'll try and get through all of those questions as we go at the end. So yeah, without any further ado, we'll rip into it. So I'll start with myself, which is a bit conceited. But so I'm Josh. I've worked here at AgriWebb now for sort of 7 months. A little bit about my background. So I call myself a first generation farmer. Sort of tried my luck and turned my hand. Spent a fair bit of time in Australia and New Zealand. Probably call myself a shepherd by trade, but just sort of really fell in love with the industry, whether that was over there or over here, and was lucky enough to come back here and work for Wairiri UK for sort of 18 months, and sort of learned a lot about the sheep industry in the UK. But yeah, really lucky to have that breadth of sort of understanding and knowledge of sort of agriculture all over the world. And the real reason that I came on board with AgriWebb was I felt like I couldn't make a big enough impact on the industry working on just one farm, and sort of, you know, the real ambition for me is helping farmers. So coming on board with AgriWebb, really believe in the tools that we're providing farmers to, you know, push their farm forward and create that business. And I think we're a pretty you know, a bit of a turning point really in agriculture in the UK, with subsidies going and everything else that's going to kind of happen in the next few years, and EU, of course, all that lovely buzzword, Brexit. And it's just about, yeah, helping farmers, you know, be future proof and sustainable for the future. And I think that's probably quite a good segue onto lovely Ed Bray. But yeah, so stay tuned and yeah, have a good evening with us. So Ed, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Ed Bray. First of all, I'd like to say thank you, Josh, for getting me included in all this, and thanks to the NSA as well. And hopefully I don't bore you too much. I do tend to rattle on a bit.
You'll be fine. Full of good information.
Just about me, I'm farming alongside my wife. We're farming in Lincolnshire Wolds. Yeah, I've got a bit of help from an assistant as well, Hannah. She does about 30 hours a week, and we're lambing. Well, we lambed 1,000 New Zealand Romneos this spring, and we're going to tuck 1,200 this autumn. Next month, we're going to put the tups to about 10th of November to start. You know, around the sort of 5th of April, something like that. We lamb them all outdoors, all on sort of mainly on grasslanding schemes, rented, all rented pasture, and then we finish all the progeny, you know, aside from replacements, what we keep for ourselves, and a surplus as well, which we're starting to sell, surplus of ewe lambs and gimmers as well. So yeah, that's about the long and short of it. We're it's quite an extensive system, really. We're covering about 450 acres over the summer, and then taking on additional winter keep further afield. So stubble turnips and you know, silage aftermaths and you know, cover crops and things like that. Yeah, so that a lot of electric fence in the winter.
You're the lucky one.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, a lot of moving sheep around. I mean, in the summer they're fairly close at hand, but in the winter they're a bit all over the place. So that's just starting now, really.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
And so that's today. Where did you kind of get started, and how did you get started in sheep farming?
Well, I am from a farming background. My father and my grandfather were dairy farmers, and they packed up around the time of BSE when I was about 10, and then I didn't really have a huge involvement in farming from then until I was about 16, and I still had, you know, I had a bit of still had very much an interest in livestock and you know, just wanted to get involved a bit, and I got a job working on a local livestock farm, suckler cows and sheep, and he was a very practical, sort of commercially minded sort of person, very hard-working chap, and pretty encouraging as well. So he sort of inspired me to start my own sheep enterprise. So I started when I was about 17, and I bought 60 gimmers when I was 17, and then continued working for him and other farmers and doing seasonal work and that sort of thing, and then just building up my flock alongside that, really, and that's just carried on. And yeah, probably one of the big breaks I had was when I got an opportunity to rent a block of permanent grass off a local estate, and you know, that was a good opportunity for us to up numbers, and then, you know, as we proved that we was able to do the job and we was trustworthy and everything, we got offered more land, and then we've just built it from that, and now we're on quite, you know, we're on the reasonable scale, good commercial scale now. So and then also another big break was with the Romneys as well, because I spent some time in New Zealand as well. I worked there for 5 or 6 months when I was 21, and I came back, and it, you know, it gives you a lot of ideas and lets you see how other people do it, and gives you a bit of perspective. And I suppose I saw probably what I was doing. You know, I had mules, and I was lambing them in February and creep feeding and pretty traditional, and then within coming back from New Zealand, I turned that all on its head, and lambing outdoors and no concentrate feeding, and which is what the Romneys are really well suited to, really. So since I've took up with them, it's really progressed the business.
Yeah. Do you go straight into, like, do you make those changes straight away, or did you?
No. It's very, very gradual thing, really. It's just you know, I suppose being a first generation sheep farmer, you know, when I started it, you know, you just sort of doing your best, really, and then you're just learning and picking up things as you go along and trying to keep improving all the time, which that doesn't stop. You know, we want to continue doing that now and into the future. We've come a long way, but we've got a vast amount more we can improve as well.
Yeah, and so I guess that kind of does a good segue onto the topic of the night. So sort of embracing technology, and you've already talked about like the business mentality and trying to drive that sort of forward. Why have you kind of embraced technology? What are the benefits and that?
As we start to have some success, really, just to go right to the start, really. I mean, the topic of this this part of the webinar is about getting started with technology, and I mean, I'm far from a technology savvy sort of bloke. I mean, the dog and a stick was about as technical as it gets until quite recently, really, and but we could see that we had weak points where we could improve, and one of them points was record keeping, really, and we didn't really have very good records we could call on, and if we did want to find out information, it was it was quite difficult to do it all, really. We was keeping records with pen and paper, really, and diaries, and you either forget to write it down, or you write the wrong thing down, or you can't find it, and so but yeah, I think it's very important you have good record keeping, and I mean, it does need to be easy. If it's not easy, you just won't do it. So everybody's short on time, so anything what takes the faff out and doesn't mean you've got to sit down in the office for hours and hours, and you can do it on the go. That's a massive plus point.
100%, and it's about being efficient, isn't it, and saving yourself that time and not dreading it, and especially when so much money comes down to having those correct records in place, but also pushing that business forward, making sure you're breeding from the right animals, embracing EIDs and wayheads, and there's so many different factors in farm technology that you can embrace. It's not just, I think people get so caught up in like drones and bloody everything else in between. There's just so many simple things that you can embrace that just to save yourself that time, so you can go and move that sheep a bit more, or you can go measure your grass, or just to get that more out of your business. So there's a whole different array of stuff. So with that in mind, what's your vision for the future of your farm, and what are you trying to aim for?
Well, the sort of overall vision, really, I suppose, would be to build a viable and successful business, and that all comes down to profitability at the end of the day, and we want to be as efficient as possible, so that like you said before, so we can weather any storms that come our way in the future, and agriculture isn't really, in some ways it's not a competitive environment, but I mean, if you, with all the changes that are coming ahead, if you are able to be as near the top as you possibly can, that's gonna that's gonna stand you in good stead for the future, really. So we just want to be profitable as possible, really, and then my sort of long-term vision is not only it's serving us and my family, but when my family get older, if they choose to take a role in the business or eventually take it over, I want it to be a viable concern that they take seriously. It's there's a tremendous amount of farmers that I don't own a farm, and we've got a business. We've got a business sheep farming, and we don't own an acre. So and there's a tremendous amount of farmers that they do own land, or they've got a secure tenancy, they've got a fantastic opportunity, and they either tell their children, or the children get the message that they're going to have to leave because there isn't enough work or isn't enough money for them. Well, I'm not. I don't want to be. If I'm telling my kids that, I've done them a disservice, I think.
Yeah.
So that's my goal. But yeah, and just learning as well. I just from a personal perspective, I want to be the best farmer I possibly can, and I just want to keep learning and growing and doing more. That's
awesome, Ed. You're a good bloke to talk to, I reckon. Interesting as well, and sort of, yeah, it's great to hear from you. And it's really cool to hear, you've got that mentality moving forward. And I guess that brings us back to that topic, embracing that technology, or even just getting started with technology. It's going to help you achieve your goals and put those things in place and use the tools that are at your hand, isn't it? I think that's the thing. And with your business goals in mind. So that's bloody cool. And so that kind of leads us on to our next part of our presentation. And I'll just share my screen again and put it back up wherever it is. There we go. 1 second whilst my computer catches back up with me. What's going on here? This isn't good. Bear with me. Where's my presentation? Here we go. Right. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties in the office. Right, we're back into it. So, present. We've heard from lovely Ed Bray and the reasons why he's, adapting, embracing technology and coming on board with it and everything like that. And it kind of leads me on to our next bit. And I wanted to do a bit of a poll, with that in mind, what Ed's sort of saying, getting all his record keeping in one place, saving that time. I was hoping to do you use pen and paper to record on your farm? And so if you look on your thing, there'll be a wee polling and it's just a simple yes, no answer. And I'll launch it now and you'll be able to see it. But what I'm trying to sort of, trying to decipher really is people that are using pen and paper. And for me, I remember what it's like being a shepherd. It kind of, all your information goes there to die and it puts you in a fair bit of strife. And that's not just for what medicines you've applied to your lambs and when your withdrawal is, but also breeding, what tup's gone out of what use, what animals are performing. I speak to, 30 people every day who are writing their weights down, they're writing their breeding plans down. I just think it's so interesting how it's the old fashioned way, and it's the biggest, this is the thing all over the world, everything is written down pen and paper. It's a worldwide worldwide thing in agriculture that people just record pen and paper, whereas you've got a supercomputer in your pocket that can work out so much for you and do so much for you. So I just think it's what Ed said about embracing that sort of technology on hand, making your life easier, and just doing that sort of getting away from that old school way, which puts you in a fair bit of strife as well. So we've actually got some results here. I'm not sure if everyone can see it, but sort of 58. Yeah, okay. End poll now. So we're going to our next slide. So poll closed. A lot of people are using pen and paper, and this is something we're helping farmers with every day, getting away from that pen and paper records where you can put it through the wash and lose it, and you can have your years worth of sort of records in there and can be lost. But also, Ed's touched on it loads of times. I'm going to keep going back to it, just embracing the tools that are in hand to make your lives easier and push your farm forward. So it sort of brings you onto this bit. You can embrace the technology and collect and record whilst you're on the go, and it's just saving you that time. So many people are sort of writing it down pen and paper, coming back into the computer, sitting in front of Excel at the end of a hard day, and sort of and not really enjoying it or doing it. And I know it's like when people get ready for their inspections, it's a bit of a mad dash before the inspector turns up, and it puts you under a lot of stress. So it saves you that time. AgriWebb sort of, and what a lot of these other sort of, let the technology take the strain for you. It can create automatic reports for you whilst you're doing things on the go. And this will lead us on to our demo of AgriWebb shortly, and I'll sort of show you everything that it can do for you. But yeah, just letting that technology take the strain. That doesn't have to be, just cloud-based technology, but EID ones and what other sort of examples did I have? Cloud-based tech, using your plate meters. There's so many things out there that you can use to really push that farm forward, which is what I've touched on there, drive the farm business forward, and using that sort of EID is a perfect example. So you can start collecting your animal performance data So you can make sure that you're culling the bottom, 30% of your flock, and constantly getting that new sort of blood coming through, and constantly bettering your sort of flock and your animals that you're breeding from. And hopefully, like come back to Ed again, like weathering the storm. That's whatever storm does turn up at the door, you've got the best animals on the farm to breed from and keep pushing forward. We've been really lucky in Australia, and we're really lucky in Australia that we've been able to quantify the impact that our technology has had. And so we've got 4,000 users in Australia. And what it's allowed us to do is we sent out a questionnaire, and we've worked out that people reckon they're being productive by being 10% more productive by sort of, recording on the go whilst they're out in the paddock, making the most of their farm, whether that's by grass management or whether that's by breeding from the right animals. And we've sort of put on we've quantified it in that they reckon with that 10% more productivity, it equates to about $43,000. Obviously, it's sometimes it's a really important thing to be able to do, isn't it? Like, you can see the impact that embracing technology is having and getting started with technology is having, and putting that 43 grand on it. Some of them might be a lot bigger farms than what we have, but at the same time, if you can make these small incremental changes to your farm, you're going to drive that efficiency up, and you're going to drive that productivity up as well. And I just think it's so important to think of that, and coming from that sort of business mentality, being able to sort of look at how you can and drive that forward is really important, which again is bringing us back to technology. So I am going to go on to an AgriWebb demo now. I want to turn my screen off because no one wants to look at the top of my head. But what I'm going to go through is I'm going to go through everything on our web, on our mobile app. So everything that's on my, it could be on your Android phone, your iPhone, or your iPad or tablet, whatever tablet you're going to use. And then I'm going to show you how we can, drive that productivity and save you that time in record collecting, which is what Ed is already sort of witnessing as a early adopter, of AgriWebb. So yeah, I'm going to share my other screen now and rip into it. I'll just turn my screen off like that. So yeah, like I said, I just wanted to, I'll start off with the app, and then I'll go onto the web portal, which is where everything kind of gets pulled into. And so it works completely offline. It's all cloud-based technology, and I'm going to hide that. So hopefully everyone can see that. Ed, can you see that okay?
Yep.
Bloody awesome. Rightio. So this is the app, like I said, and what AgriWebb is fantastic for is, we can get all your sheep, beef, and cropping reports all under one roof, all on the phone, whilst you're out on the go. So saving that time, and again, driving that your farm forward. So you can see all my sheep here. This is a farm that I was working on down in West Sussex, and I've sort of mapped out my fields all differently. So anything in blue is a permanent pasture. Anything in red was a sort of a cover crop that I put in for the winter, and everything in yellow was an arable crop, and straw and everything like that. So we'll start off with like the mob management side of AgriWebb, and so this is the real benefit of coming from sort of an Australian background. We've got a really, really strong mob-based system, and this is so powerful for slaughter lamb, medicine records, death records, and everything else like that. So I can actually just click on a group of these animals, and it pulls up this card here. And so what I can do is I can find out all the history of the different groups of animals that are in this paddock. So I can go view details. So it gives me a bit of a breakdown of this group of animals. But if I go into history, I can see the whole history of this mob. So you can see some feeds that they've had, any treatments, and everything that they've kind of had throughout the whole lifetime. You can also add notes to them as well, maybe a scald problem for some lambs or something like that. And you can just start accumulating this data to pull out some, find some trends and sort of see, change your management tax in a lot of ways. First thing I'll touch on is treating. So I'm just going to focus on this just one group here, this mixed age whole flock. Next, this pulls me through to my live inventory. And this is a great way of having, finding out everything you've got in your medicine cupboard. You can put all your costings in against everything in here. But also, when you're in town, you've got a load of like lambs to drench, something like that. You can always just pull up your AgriWebb and say, oh, I don't need to go and buy some more drench today. I know I've already got some. Just saving you that money, and just having that constant eye on what's in your medicine cupboard. So I know it's the wrong time of year, but we're just going to look at some click. Hit next. I can come in and go show advanced fields. So I'm going to apply some click to these animals. I can actually put a labour unit cost against it. So again, working towards that cost of production, finding out, you know, what you're spending on labour. You can do applied by, so holding someone accountable, or just a sort of say, you know, who's done it. And you can also put your reason in there. And again, really important, you know, maybe you're drenching, you can put your reason in there that you might have had a bigger worm burden this year. You can actually look back at all your reasons as well and start to find those different, you know, those trends in what's going on. And I think that's just the difference between using a notebook and paper. You know, you've written that down, but sometimes getting that information back out of that notebook, that, yeah, you sort of struggle with, really. But once it's in AgriWebb, you know, it's constantly creating reports for you automatically, so you can find out what's going on. So if hit save on that, saves that treatment down immediately. If you go back to your summary, it puts this group of animals in the withholding. So again, if you're drenching your lambs, it will tell you when you can start drawing from that group of lambs again. Another really good bit is, especially for people that might be bringing their animals in for winter, or for lambing as well, you can actually do feed records through AgriWebb as well. So again, we're just going to focus on all of these. So we select the animals we're going to feed. I can come through to my feed inventory, and it would say, once I've got some in there, we're going to feed them some nuts. Select. It won't let me feed them because I haven't got any in there, but you know, you can feed them down there. Once you put your feed in your inventory, you know, you can constantly have that running total of how much you've got on farm at the minute, so you can know when you're going to need to ring someone. Instead of banging the old silo, you can see how many tons you've got left after you're feeding down. Also, it's going to accumulate all your costings against that feeding. You can also put straw in here if you're using straw for bedding as well. It's another great way of managing your inventory of that, but also that cost. It's going to keep coming back to costs and, you know, that efficiency for the business. And you can go into, you know, the amount per head, total feed, quantity supplied, and everything like that. But I can't do it because I haven't got any in there. So that's your feed, and that is your treating of the mobs. What I'm going to go into now is, we can go into our death records as well. So I can click on this group of animals, go view details, and I won't go through every single one of these because there's so many to go through, but you can do your death records through here. You can do your shearing and crutching records, so you can start accumulating that cost of, you know, for your flock, and dates and who's done it and everything like that. But death would be a good one to touch on. Again, coming back to putting out that information, so you can put your deaths in here. So say we've, you know, one's died and we found it, but you can go into details. You go cause of death, you go show advanced fields, put your tag numbers in there. You can put where it's been disposed and everything like that if you want the knacker man to come out. But that cause of death, I think, is really important. You know, you're either writing it down in your book, or it's, you know, it's in a WhatsApp group across the team or something like that. But actually finding out that death and finding those trends is really difficult. Once it's in AgriWebb, you can find your death records. You can see those reasons and you can start grouping by those reasons. So maybe you've had a mineral deficiency, and it's actually just finding that out and again, using that data and remembering what that ewe died of 6 months ago, as well as what she died today, and just trying to, you know, dot the dots really. So that's a death record. I went into all the other ones you can do for mobs. I'll touch on the paddocks now, because again, really important for compliance, or if you're growing like Ed is using that sort of cover crops, we can do all your cost of production and all your records for, you know, from grass to stubble turnips to everything. So just clicked on the paddock. What I've done along the top, you've got the livestock, you've got the paddocks and the tasks. I've just clicked on paddocks. And then I can click on one of these and it pulls me through to the paddock side of AgriWebb. If I click on more, these are all the reports that I can create for AgriWebb for your paddocks. So fertilizing will be a good one. Like medicines, we've got a running inventory of all your paddock treatments, so fertilizer, but you can also put farmyard manure in here, because again, you can start accumulating your costs and also your application dates and everything like that. So just got some PK here, hit select, and you come down into here, it will give you the batch number and the sort of information of the stuff that you're going to apply. Also go to details. You can say, 1 second, just bear with me. Yeah, details. You can put your application details in here. So whether you've got a contractor in or whether you're using your own sort of spreader or whatever, you can put all that in there. Specify the dates, really important for compliance. You can actually go to weather and auto populate your conditions from the day. You can also sort of go in there and put this in manually if you wanted to give you that sort of freedom of information. But once you save that down, it's going to again create that automatic report for you to draw from, and And so yeah, you can give it all to the inspector. We've got farmers now. We haven't had a failed inspection with AgriWebb at all in the UK. So what farmers are doing now, or some of our users are doing, is just inviting the inspector straight into their straight into the office, giving them a cup of tea and a biscuit, and saying, right, look through all my records. They're all on my computer, all created for you, just by you collecting all that data via your phone outside. So that's the PK. Like I did sort of touch on, you can do all your cultivations, or your sowing as well. So when you put stubble turnips in, a really big one for me and for a lot of sheep farmers now is moving to sort of rotational grazing. And we've got a really great platform here that sort of gives you that idea of how much food you've got on farm. And then if you sort of work with how much stock you've got, you can start seeing how well stocked you are. So feed on offer. And this is whether you're walking around with a plate meter, or you're going around with your sword ruler or the old iometer. I'm just going to estimate by height, and it gives you all this here, 10 centimeters. So you can put in your feed and offer in your paddocks. So every single field, hit save, and it's going to put down how much feed you got in there. But you can also target your residual. So you go minimum food and offer, and you can put in 1600 or something like that. And so if I move some stock in here, it would give me a grazing days of sort of an AgriWebb suggested grazing days, how many days you should graze that paddock for to get to that sort of residual, and then when you should take those animals out. So what we can actually start to do is, by using my phone, I can click on the cog in the top left hand corner. I can go change, and I can actually go into feed on offer, and I can start seeing where I've got most food on the farm. Darker the green, the more grass. You can see I've got 3,000 kilos of dry matter in that top left hand corner. And you can start planning your rotation for the next, week, 2 weeks or whatever, for your different mobs, your different groups. And you can also, because it's such an intuitive map, you can start putting in your cells of hectare cells or whatever. And because of the GPS location, you can build the hectare cells on the web portal on the computer with your mouse, and then you can come and use AgriWebb because it's got a GPS location. You can start planning your hectare cells or whatever size cells you want by pressing the GPS button and making sure you're in the corner of your drawn out field. What I wanted to go into now was our individual animal management side of things. So if I go to livestock, I go into individual animals, I can see all of my individual animals here. At any one point, I can click on one and I can see its history. So it's joined at the minute. So he's out in a group of ewes. His weight, he's a very heavy tup, but you can go through and you can do this with all your animals. But this would be really great for lambing. So click on the ewe, create record, and I can do my birth. It's really great for the people that sort of, recording and stuff like that. You can actually go advanced in the top left-hand corner, and you can go through and fill out all this. So you can assign the dam and the sire to the lambs, whether it's a single, a twin, a quad or whatever. You can also assign then the tag number to that animal with your wand if you wanted to, or you can just manually put in the normal tag. And then you can go into whether you've had to help the ewe lamb, interned eyes, lamb vigor, also that weight. If you're doing this across, for me, this is the real foundation of your data moving forward and allowing you to push on with pushing your flock forward. So that's the start there. But then if we move forward, so you've started creating all your lamb reports and assigning the lambs to the ewes and the sire and everything like that, we can go start a session, and this is where you can come into individual management. So you can do your pregnancy scanning through here. But I think the big two for sort of sheep management would be that weighing, that condition score. So if we just focus on weighing now, and you don't have to have a flashy Bluetooth scale. You can even just use manual sort of normal scales and type in the weights manually if you wanted to. So I can connect my hardware. I'm not going to because I haven't got any in here in the office. If I go start a session, I'm just going to select animal manually. So I'm going to select this ram. And it pulls up this here. So as soon as the animals come in, whether you're using an EID wand or you're selecting it manually, and you're using a Bluetooth weigh head, or you're putting in the weight manually, I can just go edit, and I can just go to 100 kilos. And it breaks down then from, and if you're doing this for your lambs, it will tell you, when you first weighed that lamb at birth, if you're doing that, and then when next time you've weighed him, and it starts breaking down this information again, pushing the business forward, using that data you're collecting, this is the great way to start with it. So it breaks down how old that animal is, how many days it's been on farm for, and its weight gain. So again, moving forward, you know, if you're picking out your ewe lambs that have come from a set of twins and you want to find out, you know, the best performing ones, this is the way you start to do it through AgriWebb. This will be the same then for your body condition scoring as well as pregnancy scanning and all these sort of other things that you can do here. And you can also build a template to, you know, if when you're weighing your lambs at weaning time, you're giving them a drench as well as a bolus, as well as I don't know, something else, maybe a foot backs or something like that. You can build that into a template, so you can accumulate all these different records against that individual animal, and keeping an eye on, again, having those records created for you automatically, keeping an eye on the cost of production, and also just recording it for compliance as well. I think that was everything I wanted to show you on the app. Tasks might be a good thing to focus on. Go tasks. You can put in your own tasks. A great way of, you know, maybe people that are in like the mid-tier stewardship scheme and stuff like that, when you should be grazing paddocks, when you shouldn't be. You can put the dates in there when you should be taking animals out, and you can assign it to a specific location with a GPS or assign it to a team member. And once you've hit save, cancel it, it comes up as like, I've got myself one here, JB. I can just click on him and it comes up with that information that you've put in that task. What also happens is it comes on your home screen, so I can see all my tasks that I've got up and coming. We've got people using this for you know, communicating with their teams and stuff like that. Gets you off the phone. I'm aware of time. I'm going to get this done in the next 6 minutes, and it gives us 15 minutes for a Q&A at the end. So the next thing I'm going to go on to is, you still awake, Ed?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah. So we're going to get rid of you. What is going on? So, stop share. Can you see this, Ed?
What am I supposed to be looking at?
My screen, my AgriWebb screen.
Yeah.
Awesome. Rightio. So we've touched on, you know, that lamb results, and you wanted to start, you know, picking out the best performing animals. We've got a great filter system here at AgriWebb, so you can put any sort of filter on your group of animals that you're trying to look for. For me, a great example of this is picking those best ewe lambs. So I can put on lambs that have been born this year, that are ewe lamb, ewes, female, that have been putting on more than 250 grams a day, and that have come from a set of twins. Now, what that would do is it would populate your list here with the animals that fit that criteria. And then what you can do is you can actually start looking into weights and stuff like that here. So average daily gain would be a great one. You know, we don't want to pick from these animals down here. I can just click on these sort of overperforming animals, or whether the targeted sort of performing animals, and I can explore selection. And once it loads up, my internet's sometimes a bit slow in the office. It will pull out all those animals for you. And then what you can really start to do is, you know, you can start picking out maybe particular side animals. So I can click on group of sires here, or a particular breed, to see which ones are sort of outperforming the others. So yeah, and it breaks it all down into the individual animals here, and then you can really start getting into that information. So again, it's just using that data to the best ability, and using that technology, and you know, not using the old iometer as much, and collecting that information to push the business forward. What I want to show you now, 4 minutes, I'll just quickly rip through our reports. Like I said so many times, they're getting created for you automatically. Treatment records, great example. Instead of, you know, writing it down, losing it, whatever, it all gets put into here. It's never going to be lost. It goes up to the cloud. You can print this off. You can export it into Excel. You can always group by mob, so you can see what, you know, it costs, how many drenches you've put over a group of animals that you've been drawing from to fatten or something like that. And that all gets fed into, we kind of touched on the feed records, your death records come into here as well. And we can start, like I said, about sort of finding those trends. We can go into cause of death, and then you can start finding out, you know, if you've got a bit of a trend going, and using that information. Finally, what I want to touch on is that cost of production. Ed kind of spoke about it being important for him, and just sort of, looking at costs and everything like that, and it breaks down per mob, everything that's kind of gone into them. So that accumulates all your crutching and shearing costs, as well as fees, treatments, any deaths that have come out of it. And it gives you that idea at the end of, what you're selling and how much you're making. Same thing for your cropping. Really important to, see your fertilizer records all in one place. You can print these out. You can go into view details of each individual one, or you can group by paddock and all that sort of stuff. And finally, really important, that electronic Flockbook, where you can specify your date and time, and then you can look at, say, your inventory of animals that are on the farm in that specific time, or the deaths that have come off the farm this year, or everything else that's kind of happened on the farm. So it all gets pulled into here, and you can just print this off and give it to the inspector or whoever you need to send it to. Yeah, that is AgriWebb. Please ask as many questions as you want. I think we've already got a couple in here. So yeah, put them in the Q&A section, and we'll go from there. So I'll stop share for now. How'd I go, Ed?
Good. Yeah, brilliant, mate. I think I learned something, definitely.
Did
you? Yeah. The good. Well, the good thing about it is there is so much to it, and I think probably Beth said when she first got me on board with it. It's like some people are using it in a very simple, basic way. Like you said, replacing a notebook or a diary. And then whatever you want to do, if you get more confident with it, then you can do all these things with individual records and that sort of thing. So
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Right, we've got a few questions here. Hannah Park, maybe I'll ask you, Ed. This would be a good way of asking you some questions. Hannah Park's asked, what do you think is the main barrier to technology update? So technology being embraced by farmers, I think. What do you think is the main barrier?
I would say mindset, probably, really, more than anything. I think when you think of, I mean, not to sound ageist here, but if you think the average age of farmer, whatever, I mean, a lot of the people that probably are watching this are more technology orientated people anyway. So I think it's just confidence, really. And I mean, so I would have thought some people probably don't necessarily see the benefits of it, but anybody that does see the benefits of it, I mean, the barrier is probably just confidence, really. Definitely. And I mean, and some people probably think they don't have time, but that's a bit of a contradictory thing, really, because it's there to save you time, isn't it?
I think you're right there. And talking to all the farmers more, I think, Hannah, for me, it would be that's that fear of embracing something new and sort of changing the status quo of, I've always done it this way, so I'm going to carry on doing it. Whereas Ed's evidence and sort of the other 4,000 users in Australia, 500 or almost 500 users in the UK here are, it helps every day. And we've got farmers embracing it so much, and they can't imagine life without it now. And this isn't just AgriWebb as well. This is a lot of things like EID, technology, using wayheads, even the plate meters, so you know how much food you got on farm and how much you should be feeding, and if you're understocked, overstocked, performing fields, underperforming fields. There's so many tools out there that you can embrace. It's just getting amongst it. So that was Hannah. Thank you very much for that, Hannah. Jane, how much is it? We've got 3 pricing plans. We've got one starting at £250 for one user and just your compliance records. Our most popular package, which is what Ed will be on, will be our commercial package, which gives you full access to all the reports we've looked at tonight. It gives you 3 users, so you can have 3 users having their apps on their phone, inputting all that data, saving it all, just falling on one person's shoulders. And also, one thing that hopefully that Ed will be, he'll say agree with, is that our support's, really great here as well. We've got a great success manager, support manager, Beth, who helps as much as she can all the time. She's always there to answer anyone's queries and problems. I'm sure Ed's been helped out by her a few times. Would you say, Ed?
Yeah, I think probably I'm asking a lot of stupid questions. A lot
So do I, don't worry.
No, they're very, very quick on the responses, and you know, they're there to help.
Awesome, yeah, definitely. So that's £400 for the year. Anonymous, is the app EID compatible? I.e., can data be directly taken into the app from an EID reader? Yes, it can. So we link up with a whole array. We've actually got a website. If you type in AgriWebb supported tech into Google, it'll come up with our supported tech list of all the different EID ones, wayheads that we link with. And so, yeah, it links straight in via Bluetooth. So you can, you know, bip your animal's ear tag. It will come up with that individual animal card, and it will pull up, you know, you can start adding to her history that way and sort of identifying that. And that's a great way of, you know, doing all your reports, your treatments, preg scanning, body condition scoring, everything. So yeah, we work really hard on that individual side of AgriWebb, and yeah, it's going to carry on going, and that definitely reads into the EID readers and everything like that. So we've got some more questions, and so, can I have multiple users? Yes, you can. So I kind of touched on it with the different packages, but the Essentials package comes with one user. Moving up to then the Commercial comes with 3 users. So again, it's really great. And I know what it's like when I worked on farms. You know, you'd have a WhatsApp group, or you write stuff in your notepad and you go back and give it to whoever's in the office, and they sort of consolidate all that information into Excel or whatever it goes into. But you can have these 3 different data inputs. Data's such a scary word, but like different inputs of what's going on the farm. And it just takes that, you know, because it's all being created automatically, you can have those 3 different people putting that information in. It just, yeah, takes that stress off from one person. So yes, it can have multiple users. And does it link with government connections? Yes. So we link with all BCMS, ARAMS, EID Cymru, Scott Move, Scott EID, and APHIS in Northern Ireland. So you can do all of your reports, whether it's your cows, whether it's sheep, all directly through AgriWebb, to allow you to do it all electronically and paperlessly and everything like that. What other questions do we have? Jane HB, I'm an expert in smashing phones when working in the yard. When you input data, does it automatically? Yes, Jane. So as soon as you've synced it to the cloud, it goes, it's up there forever. So if you smash your phone, it's not all saved to your phone, it's saved up to the cloud. You just got to sync it. So it's super easy. Philip Stocker, does it avoid having to use ARAMS, i.e. does it connect and update with ARAMS, or would it do this? Would it do this with the new LIS? I think the new LIS is the new livestock system that's coming out soon. So it doesn't have to connect with ARAM automatically. Basically what you do is, you've done a sale record or a purchase record or whatever, you have to come through as like a second port of call. If you have your ARAMS account linked up with it, you come through and you send it off to the respective governing bodies, whoever it is. So it's kind of like a fail safe, double check that it goes up to there on your sort of submit. So no, it doesn't go up to ARAMS automatically. You send that off directly. And what it does with the new LIS, when the new LIS, so we've just gone through this with Scott Moves. So those Scott Moves up there for the cows have changed the way that they're having the data, and we're in the process of building that to their specifications. So that'll be exactly the same with the new LIS. And once we know a bit more about what that system is going to be, we will build that into AgriWebb. And I guess that's the real nice thing about having 20 full-time developers and trying to build the best product on the market. We're constantly, we get a new update every week of the new things that are coming out and what people want. So when the LIS system comes out, we will have it as well. What else have we got? Can I have more than one farm? Yes, you can. And this is, this kind of goes both ways. If you've got, like Ed's, you're grazing lots of different areas, you can have all those different plots of land all on one map. So you can just drag and drop your animals to and from, whatever paddock you want to put them in. But also if you have, 2 separate farms and you want 2 separate groups of animals, 2 separate maps, 2 separate inventories, cost of reductions, everything like that. We can actually have different farms attached to one account, so you can flick between your different farms and yeah, make that work for you. So you're just collecting those different you know, different records for the farm. So have we got any more questions? I think we do. Are reports available in a format for a PC or on a mobile device only? Are reports available in a format for a PC or on a mobile device only? So all the reports, you're putting all that information in there on your phone, and then it gets fed up into the cloud and it comes down to AgriWebb in the reports pre-made for you. So that's on the web portal. So you can't access your reports on your phone. That's kind of like your data input. That's your little, you know, record collection, your, you know, electronic notebook as such. And then all the reports get made for you on the web portal. So you can come in and find out all that information, which we looked at before. What has the biggest problem with the software? So I've got a lot of question here. The software, we won't read that. What has been the biggest problem with the software so far from a user perspective, and what are you looking to add on to the software as you grow? Biggest problem we faced, in all honesty, is that we've developed the individual animal management side specifically for the UK market, and that's sort of, you know, we launched a year ago yesterday, and so our biggest problem has been not being able to develop the app quick enough to all the things. You know, we're constantly asking questions to our users and holding. So we've got an ideas portal for what our current customers or future customers want to see built in the app. It's just that we haven't been able to build everything as quick as we all want it. So that, I think, would be the biggest thing. Is sometimes some reports weren't there. I think we're so close to being where we need to be. What are we looking to add on to the software as we grow? We want to make everything better. The grazing platform will be one that will be improved in the spring. We're going to create a more streamlined sort of lambing report, and also having sort of management groups as well as individuals located on the map. There are sort of our next 4 big things that we're looking to work on, or we are working on. So basically they're already in production. Management groups is going to go live sort of by the end of the week, hopefully, and yeah, the rest of it's sort of in the process of building. And again, that's the real nice thing about having 20 full-time developers that are constantly pushing the app forward. So we get a new release every week. We just got AI natural joining, so you can say what type has gone to what individuals, and you can also now do pregnancy scanning. And this will be maybe more a bit for cattle farmers, but saying how far, you know, an animal's into their pregnancy, so you can start identifying what, you know, it could work for lambs and for ewes as well, you know, what tup's sort of stuck and stuff like that. Hannah Park, question for you, Ed.
Yep.
Ed, what's the best and most challenging thing you found with the app?
I think probably one of the sort of best benefits we've had from it is, well, like you said, the deaths is really useful. So like you say, when you see or pick up a dead sheep or whatever, you know, you put that in and you can put, you know, like cause of death and everything in. And then, I mean, I had the vet come for a farm health plan assessment thing, recap or whatever the other day, and you know, I've not been doing that long, but if she'd have come a year or 2 ago, I wouldn't really have had a lot to give her.
Yeah.
So I, you know, I just printed something out and it had everything. And then, well, one thing I use it a lot for, and it's been really good for, is you know, the treatments, deaths, just movements. So you've got dates when you go in and out every field. You know, sales. I've got all my you have all your sales on a list. You know, everything in one place. So that's been benefits. And then what was the other part of the question? What was
bad bits?
The bad bits. I would say for me, it's just been, it's nothing I can blame on the app, but it's just me learning how to use it. And initially, when you first get it and you draw your maps and you put all your sheep in, you know, and then you dragging them to other paddocks and you're saying one's died, that's all pretty straightforward. You know, like now, I'm you know, I haven't actually done it yet because I've only just got some scales with the Bluetooth and the tag reader and everything, but that's the next step I want to do. I want to integrate all that and start using that. You know, but that just requires a bit more effort to get your head around how that's actually going to work. And but that's where the support, that's where you get your value for money, when you're asking yourself or your colleagues, how's this going to work? Talk me through it. You know, you've just got to ask lots of questions, haven't you, if you're struggling?
Definitely, and that's what we want to do. Yeah, we've got a few more questions here. 10. What have we got? How long did it take Ed to do the initial data input in order to start with the app? So how long did it take you to start?
Just I did it in an evening, and well, just put in you know, putting it, you're just drawing all your fields and then putting each mob in. That you'd do that in an hour probably, or something.
Yeah. And so what we can do as well to pull out all your individual animals, we can pull in CSVs of, you know, or whatever animals you've got on farm, and then it will populate your individuals list. So maybe that's something we can help you with, Ed, as well. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Right, we are at time, and I'm sure that everyone needs to go and maybe have tea or do whatever. But thank you, Ed, mate. Ed, it's always good to see you. Stoked that I met you at the NSA Future Generation thing, and stoked to be sort of working with you now. And yeah, good to have a yarn with you. So yeah, thank you very much for your time. And everyone else, thank you everyone for the time. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put in a link into the chat and also the Q&A. I can't do it into Q&A. So what you can actually do is we do a free 14-day trial. So if you go to agrowebb.com/UK, there's a button there that says start for free. So I invite, you know, as many people as want to try it, or if you've got any friends that you think would sort of get the most out of it, please go on it. I'd love to give you a call once you start it and sort of get you on for a more personalized demo and, you know, have a yarn. And I know it's been quite AgriWebb heavy, but I think the big message here is embracing technology, getting started with technology, and helping yourselves build that business for the future and take the stress away from, you know, farming and get back to it and enjoy the good bits and, yeah, make your lives easier. I think that's the biggest thing that I can pass on. But Ed, thanks, buddy. Good talking to you. Thanks everyone for your time.
Yeah, you too.
And yeah, hopefully speak to you all in the future. Cheers, Ed.